Hello everyone, my name is Aaron and this is the Game Day Hour. Welcome back to another college football predictions and rankings video. We are going into week 4 after an interesting week 3 week. I was kind of surprised by some of the matchups that happened, and there have been some major moves in the rankings and I can't wait for you guys to see them. And then right after the rankings, we're going to be taking a look at 7 college football games, and I said last week that this was going to be a semi-boring week. This week, we got some prime time watchers. It's time to see the best of the best that college football has to offer, and it's going to be like this from here on out. Let's get started. Towards the bottom of the top 25, UCF and Clemson stay where they're at after both winning 48-14, Clemson over FAU and UCF over Villanova. They weren't impressive wins, but they did the job to stay in the top 25. However, the only team jumping into the top 25 is UCLA, with Kansas State falling out. UCLA has been playing good all year, and they have a really strong offense, and they're about to have one of their biggest tests so far this year. But so far, they're undefeated and in the top 25. Miami took care of business against Bethune, so they get to move up a little bit because of the Kansas State drop, and so does Duke, big win over Northwestern. So that is your 25-21. Man, Washington State really put down the hammer on North Colorado, so they get to move up again because of the drop to Kansas State. So does Oregon State, who did very well against San Diego State, and North Carolina over Minnesota, which was one of my picks. Ole Miss took care of business against Georgia Tech, so they stay still. And Colorado in a showdown with Colorado State. That one came down to the wire, down by 11 in the fourth, and came back and won in overtime. They get to stay where they're at. I know they dropped in one of the other rankings, but I think that it was an emotional matchup to the point where I would allow them to stay. But that is 16 through 20. Get ready to see what happened in the next one. What is going on with Alabama? I mean, you can't barely win against USF. You were trailing for the majority of the first quarter and the second quarter, and you only got going in the fourth quarter. Like, what happened? They don't have the quarterback situation down, so Alabama drops tremendously because that's not the standards we hold them to. And Tennessee, of course, the loss to Florida, that was heartbreaking. I mean, Tennessee looked really bad in that game. As for the other three, Washington played great against Michigan State. Granted, Michigan State was missing their head coach, who is now fired, but they get to move up to 13 because of a few drops and a few poor performances. As for LSU, I mean, they're back to their winning ways. Mississippi State, that was a easy route. And Utah over Weber State, I mean, that was definitely going to happen. So this is 11 through 15. Let's take a peek into the top 10. How about Oklahoma? There is new life in OU. I mean, they have been destroying their opponents. I mean, the SMU game wasn't that big of a win, but it was still 17 points. That's 3 possessions. That's great. They've been playing great against every opponent. As for Oregon, I mean, Oregon has just been absolutely dumpstering the competition. And Notre Dame, I mean, Notre Dame has been doing the same thing. Notre Dame hasn't gone under 40 points yet this year, which is crazy. Penn State has been taking care of business, but Florida State, ooh, you had a little bit of trouble there. It was kind of scary. So Florida State kind of is under the microscope for this week, but all these teams look great, so you have a lot of teams moving up because of Alabama and Tennessee. And the top 5 does not change whatsoever. USC had a bye. Ohio State and Michigan took care of business as normal. But Georgia and Texas had some scares early in the first half, but they ultimately won by double-digit scoring. So everybody gets to stay the same, and there is no movement in the top 5 for now. As we get into today's predictions, let's first take a look back to last week. I went 4-2. Come on, Kansas State. Come on, Tennessee. I mean, I thought you guys were almost simple to look at, but I mean, to be fair, Missouri won in such an intense way. In Florida, they outright destroyed Tennessee. But 4-2, still a positive record, so we did pretty good there, but we could do better, of course. But we have a very difficult week ahead of us. 7 games at least 6 of them are dual ranked matchups. That's a first. Let's get into it. Remember, the best game is at the end, so wait and see. The Noles and the Tigers play number 6 versus number 25 in Death Valley. This is normally a matchup that has favored Clemson over the years, but I believe that Clemson is at its worst it's been since the Deshaun Watson era. Things don't look particularly great for Clemson. I mean, they're just hanging by a thread in my top 25, but right now it's between them and Iowa. So I'm really confused about why Clemson isn't doing so great. I mean, they have the pieces, so I don't know what's missing. And because of all of that, Florida State's been rocking. I mean, they didn't play great against Boston College. They almost gave up a big lead, but you know what? It's okay. I mean, they won the game, and they're undefeated still. I'm still taking the Seminoles to win, but it will be an extremely close game. I just think that Clemson right now is still looking for a total identity. I mean, beating FAU big was great, but how great is it now that you have to play Florida State after seeing what happened in the Duke game? So it's time to figure out if Clemson can pull it together, but I think the Noles are going to win. Number 16, Colorado at number 9, Oregon. Again, remember, these are my rankings that we're looking at, not ESPN's. Okay, so first and foremost, a Colorado great win against Colorado State. It's a rivalry, close game, and a very emotional game, and Colorado State won, but they lost Travis Hunter, so that's going to be a problem. As for Oregon, I mean, Oregon has been annihilating teams. It's not even close. I mean, Oregon is literally destroying every team they play except for Texas Tech, but they won by 8 points in the last minute, so the win's a win there. Right now, the loss of Travis Hunter, I think, is going to affect Colorado's offense. I think they're going to play extremely well, but I think Oregon is going to win in a shootout. I think the Ducks are going to stay undefeated. The Bruins finally jump into the top 25 at number 23, and they're facing number 11 Utah. I mean, that's going to be a great matchup in Salt Lake. The question is Cameron Rising playing? If he's going to be playing, I have Utah winning. But if he's not playing, I have UCLA winning, because this is going to be the best team Utah has played all year long. And I mean, Baylor, people say, oh, what about Baylor? Baylor was not looking that great at all, and they barely beat Baylor. So if Cam Rising is not playing this game, I'm going to take the Bruins, but I'm going to assume he finally comes back for this game, and I'm going to say that Utah ends up winning. But if he doesn't play, I don't see Utah winning this game. Number 17 Ole Miss versus number 15 Alabama. God, Alabama does not look like Alabama football right now. I mean, their quarterback situation is in shambles, and they barely beat USF. That is poor. And because of this, 2 years ago on an older channel, I picked Ole Miss to beat Alabama, and I was wrong. I would be like, oh, I'm going to learn my lesson. No, because Ole Miss looks consistent, Alabama does not. I'm going to take the Rebels in an upset. Alabama needs to figure out their quarterback situation ASAP. If they don't, they're going to struggle, and Ole Miss is going to roll. It's just as simple as that. Number 19, Oregon State at number 20, Washington State. I mean, I got an upset for Washington. I mean, Washington State, they beat Wisconsin, and I predicted that. That was pretty cool. This is the first time I'm taking a look at Oregon State, and normally I'm not huge on them, but they have been playing great all year long. Washington State, though, to me, has the most impressive of all the wins. However, DJ looks comfortable in that Oregon State offense, and they look really good. I mean, both teams, they played great. I'm going to take Oregon State to beat Wazoo, but it's going to be a mid-scoring, so we're talking 20 and 30s, and it's going to be really, really close. I mean, last drive potentially. It's that type of game, and it's a really hard one to pick. I mean, we're talking 19 versus 20. It's really close. A team I refuse to put in the top 25 is Iowa, and that's because after looking at last season, I think Iowa was just a struggling mess all year long, and they just did not look like Iowa football. So this is a big test. If they can beat Penn State, Iowa will definitely jump into the top 25, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Penn State has an incredibly good defense. I would say that Penn State should beat up on Iowa, in my opinion. I think Penn State looks the best of any team so far, and I'm going to take the Nittany Lions to beat the Hawkeyes. Now, the game of the week, and as a Notre Dame fan, I've been looking forward to this one for a very long time. It's the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at ranked 8 hosting the number 4 Ohio State Buckeyes. Do I go homer or do I go realistic? In my opinion, they're both the same. Ohio State had a really good game last week, and Notre Dame was slow, but they ended up winning 41-17. The question right now is with Sam Hartman, is he going to be healthy? And I think he will be. I think he'll be in really good shape by the time the next game starts, or this game starts, I mean. But the Buckeyes, I mean, that was such a dreadful performance against Indiana early, and they were tied for a tiny bit against Youngstown State. And I mean, Notre Dame has jumped over 40 points in all 4 of the games they've played. So it's really hard for me to want to go against the Irish here. I really think Notre Dame is about to do something special. I mean, is Ohio State going to probably get their way on offense? Definitely. They have Marvin Harrison Jr. He's potentially the best wide receiver in all college football. But Notre Dame has such a balanced offense, and while Ohio State's run defense is pretty good, our run attack has been really, really good, and I think Hartman's going to pick apart that defense. It's going to be close, and I'm definitely going to lose a few fingernails, but I think Notre Dame is going to end up beating Ohio State. Call it a homer pick all you want. But ever since week 1 after that Indiana game, I was like, oh no, this does not look like Ohio State football. And that's a problem. I mean, the quarterback situation was in question early, same as Alabama. So Ohio State has dropped a few places, and you got to understand why. I mean, so I got the Irish. Go Irish. And that'll do it for today's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you do, please leave a like, comment down below, and subscribe. Go follow me on all my social medias, and of course, the next episode is going to be the NFL episode. I mean, we are looking into a great season, and I think you'll be happy to see my fantasy football performances. I can't wait to tell you guys all about it, so stay tuned till then. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day, take care, and goodbye.